Today, Chris and I are going to talk about everything that you need to know to build your pocket square wardrobe.
And a few things you probably don't need to know. So, if you're interested in building a small wardrobe of pocket squares and you're not too sure where to start, probably the most popular place to start would be the classic white silk. A lot of people start here because often the first time you wear a pocket square is for formal occasions. Perhaps it's a wedding and you're wearing an evening dinner jacket, or you're wearing a morning dress, and a white pocket square just seems right.
That's exactly my story. I mean, the first pocket square that I can actually remember purchasing was a white pocket square that I wore for my wedding with my tuxedo.
Sure.
And I still have it, and I still wear it all the time, and I'd say it's the cornerstone of my pocket square wardrobe.
No, sure. And again, if you're looking to introduce it into maybe your business outfits, or for perhaps with sports jackets, blazers, a white silk is always going to look good and look correct. Probably the only caveat against that is if you wear a lot of cream shirts, it can make the cream look dirty and the white look a bit off, but that's quite a specific thing. I think it's a safe place to start for most people.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I wore my white pocket square with my tuxedo, but I wear it all the time with all the different jackets I have. It's just if I feel like I'm needing or wanting a pocket square, white goes with just about everything.
So once you have your white silk and looking to expand it, a safe place to go to would be something with a white with a border. This is linen, so you get the advantage of a second texture as well as a little bit of colour. And if you can see how it looks in the pocket, and there's different ways you can fold it. You can fold it with that lovely, elegant, sort of straight fold. Did you have that for your wedding? Did you have the straight fold?
I did straight fold, yeah.
You look a straight fold kind of guy.
Yeah, classic.
Timeless. You're going for your Don Draper look.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or you can make a feature of the border which gives more of a colour to it. So I think once you have that, you've got a new texture and new colours into your repertoire. So once you've had two pocket squares, you just need more, don't you?
Of course, always.
No, it sort of just
more is always better.
Exactly. So you've got your two white there. You could, if you're enjoying it, you could get another white, perhaps with a different colour border.
Sure.
So if that's your look and you enjoy that sharp look. But I would suggest maybe bring a bit more colour into it, and you can't go wrong with navies, dark blues. But again, by having that little edge detail, it gives you 2, 3, 4 looks from the same pocket square, just depending on how you fold it. So you can easily just have a flat navy, very monochromatic.
I mean, even there's a difference in the blues here. The blue silk pocket square has sort of a shine to it, and then the tie is a shantug. It's really nubby and sort of, dull or dusty in a way, and there's a distinction which works.
No, I like it. It's monochromatic, probably more of an evening look, but it's a
very professional, very business forward, I would say.
Yes, it could also be a business look. But again, going back to the important pocket square, by having the borders, you can break it up a little bit and actually make a feature of the hand-rolled edges. And I don't think it should just be for formal wear, although I think it's essential for formal wear.
Yeah, you see a lot of it in
But I
formal
think
wear.
if you're just going out on a weekend with a blazer, this sort of pocket square with a dark blue blazer, everyone has a dark blue blazer, just elevates it.
And with a little bit of flair to the way that's in the pocket, it really sort of brings down the formality of this particular pocket square.
No, certainly. And I'd also warn that you need to avoid matching pocket squares with your tie exactly. It's not a strong look, and you don't want to look as if you've tried to get it matched perfectly and got it wrong. And I think because of the textural difference here, I think we're okay here. But again, if you want to be safer by showing the edges, you're getting a lot more interest in it. So be very careful when you look, you're trying to match. You don't look like you're trying too hard to do something which is wrong. And then depending on when you tend to wear your pocket squares will dictate what style you go for. If you find you're wearing them more for going out of an evening, you might want sort of richer jewel colours. If they're more for weekend tweeds, you'd want to go for that sort of colour palette. But if you work in an environment where you need to look smart and you want to look polished and professional, this is the type of pocket square you need. Discreet, repeat patterns that complement the classic wardrobe of sort of charcoals and navies.
So the next pocket square that I would be sure to have in my collection is a repeating pattern in a versatile color like gold. The benefit of a repeating pattern pocket square is that it can be quite formal, but oftentimes the pattern will have a more fun or flamboyant border. So depending on how it's styled or how it's put in the pocket, you can actually get a lot of different looks.
Absolutely. I think this colour as well, this sort of rich gold, it would go with your city palette of charcoal and navy, obviously your blazers, But I could also see it being more at the weekend, maybe if you wear tweeds,
Yep.
so sort of greens, gold, olives, those sort of colours, browns, because it will go between both colours. So I think you can get a lot of wear out of that. And the colours in the hanky are really important. These are the colours for your tie. So if you've got the gold in the background, no, that's your handkerchief colour. But where you've got bits of red, bits of blue, these are the colours you'll be buying your ties in. And I think once you have your classic whites, maybe some other colours, some discrete patterns, you'll want to grow your collection and to really indulge your tastes, and you'll buy patterns you connect with. I mean, in the hand, they look like very beautiful items, and you'll find excuses to wear them.
Yeah, and this is the type of pocket square where if you were to, see it on a website or in a store in person, you might initially be a little bit intimidated by it. But as Chris is doing here, once you actually put it in the pocket and you only see, small elements of it, it really becomes more versatile than you might think. And
Absolutely.
they're fun because depending on how you manipulate in the pocket, you can bring out different elements of the pattern or the color. So it's far more useful than you might initially, think.
Something which is quite important to consider when building your pocket square collection is the construction. It's easy to be carried away by the colours and the patterns, but you really want ones which have hand-stitched edges. It gives the square more structure. It also means when you fold it, you get more options, you get more creative. You can show the points, and the points will actually sit rather than just flop down. So it just makes them a nicer item.
Yeah, and I think there's also, the element of handwork is sort of, it's very objective, but subjectively, you have something very special in your pocket, adds that extra, bespoke element to it, if you will, which I know a lot of people appreciate.
And Austin, it's true what they say, size does matter. With pocket squares, you need the linen to be not too large because it's a thicker, more structured material. If it's too large, it'll bulk in the pocket. However, the finer silk ones, if they're too small, they're constantly dropping down into the pocket and they don't stay in place. So you're looking for something for silk around sort of the early 40s, no more than 45, ideally around 42. With hand-stitched edges, always looks good. And
this is one of my biggest pet peeves with pocket squares is where you become self-conscious and you're always sort of, fussing with it and pulling it up to make sure it looks good. But I think a lot of guys, I'm happy you raised a point about, size mattering when it comes to pocket squares, because a lot of guys might not actually realize that there are different sizes. I mean, it might, from afar, a square sort of looks like a square, but the size does play a big difference, especially when you start, getting into different materials.
As a very good point as well. If you're new to wearing a pocket square, you feel very self-conscious, you don't look comfortable, you don't look confident. Avoid playing with it. If you're new wearing a pocket square, you always see someone who's wearing a pocket square for the first time. Yeah. They're just looking at it and touching it. Put it on, make it displayed how you like, forget all about it and go on with your life. That's how they look best. Yeah. And that way, it's not wearing you, you're wearing a pocket square.
That's a good point. When it comes to pocket squares, do you have a preferred way of folding it or styling it?
I fold it in different ways depending on the outfit, the material, whether I want to pick out different colours. But when you're in a rush and I have a go-to would be just to pull out the centre, fold it once like that, pull the ends up in the pocket. I guess it's a puff fold, and then I just sort of double it down and show it like that, and then forget all about it. That would be my go-to in a rush.
That's mine too. I mean, it doesn't get really any simpler than that. You can literally do it on your way out the door and you still achieve a very smart sort of, sophisticated put together look without having to mess with points and, perfection and things like that.
I tend to do more points for evening wear or occasions. Yeah. But for day wear, that's how I do it.
Yeah, we're on the same page with that. All right, so I feel like you're gonna have a lot of opinions on this. So this is another one of my preferred ways to style pocket square. Just the straight fold, or I think it's also referred to as a presidential fold. And not only do I use that fold, but I also just do it with a white linen pocket square. And oftentimes I wear pocket square actually more casually. So if I'm not wearing a necktie, have an open neck, I'd like to have a little, a little flourish or just a little formality in the pocket. That's oftentimes, I'll be rushing out the house and I'll just look down and, it's already in the pocket or something.
Okay, well if it's already there, that's cheating.
But it's also one of my go-tos, and I know it's formal, right? I think there's a certain sense of formality to it, and the way I wear it with an open neck and maybe a sport coat, I don't know if that's technically right. I like it, and that's the beauty about menswear. Whereas for me, it works.
It's your own style indicator.
But as a style consultant and menswear, expert, I'm just curious if there's like a definitive rule on this, because I've often wondered.
No, I mean, I love this style. I think if I'm wearing white linen, I'm most likely to wear it this way as I'm pointed.
Yeah.
Particularly for black tie, I like it, and so for day wear. But no, I think that's kind of cool. If that's your look, I think it's better to wear this than to not wear a pocket square. And yeah, although it's quite formal,
Yeah.
it's also very simple and elegant, so I can imagine it looking good with an open neck shirt. We've had loads of questions asking about how do you store your pocket squares, so how do you keep yours?
It's quite simple. I mean, you can just fold them nicely and store them in a drawer. Alternatively, you could just take a trouser hanger and sort of drape them over the trouser. I think the key here is just you want to avoid mistreating them, just crumpling them up and shoving them in a drawer somewhere. So keep them folded or lying flat or over a hanger. But also what you don't want to do, which is a nice little sartorial nugget here, and hopefully the reason you guys subscribe to the channel, is that you don't actually want to keep them in your jacket pocket. Because what will happen over time is you actually deform the pocket, and it will affect the way that the overall jacket looks. So you want to make sure at the end of the day when you get home, remove the pocket square from the jacket pocket and store it properly. So that covers pretty much everything that you need to know about building the perfect pocket square wardrobe.
But was afraid to ask.
But probably we're afraid to ask. But if you aren't afraid to ask, just drop your comments or questions below and we'll get back to you.
And don't forget to subscribe.